yo, welcome to another episode with Ignite the Spark Within podcast. I'm your host, Sebastian Hernandez, and I am here to empower world-class leaders like yourself to create a life on your own terms. On these podcasts, we will be exploring the mysteries of self-mastery, shamanism, mysticism, conscious sexuality, and overcoming depression and anxiety. We'll be interviewing some of my very own tribe members from around the world and share some of our personal stories. We'll be discovering and implementing tools and strategies for living a more fulfilled life. So, join me on this journey of self-discovery and let's ignite that spark within together. Season 3, episode 148, Going Through Hard Times. All right, yo, welcome back. So, welcome back to our episode of Ignite the Spark Within, and today, on Christmas Eve, we have a special guest, and what a great time to have this conversation, because I think this is going to be a really critical conversation. And who I want to introduce you today is someone that's been on our podcast before. This gentleman is a powerhouse. Like, this guy, like, I actually look up to this man. He has been able to build the #1 ayahuasca center in all of Colombia with over 500 5-star reviews. 700 5-star reviews on Google as the #1 ayahuasca center in Colombia. So whenever I tell folks, like, all right, are you ready to go to the jungle? And it's going to be like extremely intimidating, and like usually it's like for like shaman training. Like, is that what you want? Or do you want something more low key, more safe, more in a place where like you really feel you can connect to the medicine and not have to worry about being interacting with spiders and snakes and stuff, right? This is the center where I invite people to come to La Guaira. And this happens to be the owner of La Guaira and a close friend of mine. Over the years, we've established a really close relationship. And this is someone that I feel is just the perfect person to have this conversation. And it's specifically about men's work, right? And what does it mean to do our inner work as a man, right? Because look, sometimes it is fucking challenging, right? And so that's the topic for today. And with no further delay, let me introduce to you Mr. Sam Believ. Woo, 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 woo. What's up, my brother?
Thank you for having me on the podcast once again. I'm happy to be here.
Awesome, dude. So I kind of caught you off guard, right? Because I kind of just said, hey, let's create this. And we didn't really talk about what the topic was going to be. He just kind of said, like, all right, we could talk about this. I'm like, perfect. I know where we're going to take it. So with the topic of doing the inner work as a man, what do you have to say about that? What are your thoughts about that?
Well, as you've known me for the last few years, and then before that, I started doing inner work as a man when I was about 28. So before that, I would read books and I would do stuff, and I was like, I never really turned the attention inward too much. It was always like, oh, I need to do this externally. So beginning of my inner work was actually doing practical things like quitting watching porn or traveling more, or, kind of changing my lifestyle. So it was always something external. My internal growth and sort of working on myself started when I first drank the medicine. Because if you'd ask me like 10 years ago, like, oh, do you have any issues? Like, you okay? I'll be like, no, I'm totally perfect. Like this and that and that. And I'm like complete human being. Like, it's other people have those emotions and all this weirdness. And I'm just like, perfect. After I started drinking, slightly before I started drinking medicine, I kind of like started noticing something was off me, and maybe like I'm a little bit depressed or something like that. Like, why am I not as happy as other people? But only like after I started drinking the medicine, it kind of started revealing to me and started peeling off those layers. And only now, like 5 years later, because I think first time I had medicine was like five and a half years ago.
Hold on.
But now I'm like getting to some levels where I'm like, okay, I think I get it finally.
But wait, so when at 28, what was the thing that you were doing at 28?
No, at 28, I quit my job and I quit my relationship and I started traveling.
Okay.
So my growth was like, learning languages or reading lots of books and starting a business, like changing my life, like in a very physical point of view.
Got it.
but
Okay.
emotions were not part of it. Emotions became a part of it later on when I
Hmm.
started focusing on, like, around that time when I first tried ayahuasca. We had a miscarriage with my ex-wife,
Hmm.
and I that was one of the reasons I went into the ayahuasca.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That's what took you to ayahuasca?
it was one of the reasons. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, there were several, but it was like it was the first time I cried in like ages. Like
Hmm.
I remember like crying in the shower. It just came randomly. And then ayahuasca kind of happened. But
Hmm.
the seeds were planted years ago. I'm probably skewing the timeline because my older son is almost 5. And if he's almost 5 and I tried the ayahuasca a bit more than 5 years ago, she was pregnant with him already. No, it doesn't make sense. I need to look through my calendar, but maybe I think I've done ayahuasca more than 5 years ago. I think there might be a mistake. So, anyways, I started drinking ayahuasca and something started happening to me very slowly at first. Like I always thought that I'm this great man because I'm so unemotional.
Hmm.
I was like, I can just things happening to me, I just deal with them and it's all fine. Sometimes I can't sleep, but I don't know, I'm fine.
Hmm.
And so it was not immediate, but gradually I started like peeling those layers and feeling more and more emotions.
Hmm.
So it's funny because like I'm this adult man, like I'm 37 now. Like even a few years ago, like I run this big business with so many employees and people look up to me, and at the same time, my emotional maturity was of like a 6-year-old.
Hmm.
Now
How do
it's
you
probably
know?
like a teenager. I'm just because like I feel like an emotion. I'm like, what is this? Like I feel something and it feels like this. I think it's fear. So it's
Okay.
like
So not being able to identify
yeah,
the
like I'm
emotions.
learning emotions like a baby
Got it. Okay.
because of my trauma and like traumatic childhood and things that happened to me. I just decided to close up all of my emotions because all the
Mm.
emotions I was feeling were negative, so I just closed them down.
Hey,
Plus, also like culturally and tying it down to the masculine healing specifically, in my culture, you don't talk about emotions, period. But as a man, even more.
mm,
So I would feel stuff, and my ex-wife would tell me like, "Oh, what's wrong with you?" I'm like, "No, I'm normal." She
mm,
would perceive that I'm feeling stuff. I wouldn't.
mm.
I would just have like bad mood basically. So
Yeah.
my emotional scope was very narrow, and it still is pretty narrow, but it's like it's widening a lot now, and especially in this period of pain that I'm going through right now, it's been a catalyst of learning even more emotions and like sitting with that
Mm,
pain because it's the first time I have a very painful experience that I go through where I actually feel most of it, which is
mm.
actually terrible.
Yeah.
So I understand now why my system shut down. I just kind of squeezed all of that emotional, like the way I explain it is like, is if there's an emotional dial,
Mhm.
I took it from hungry to like 2,
Yeah.
and it numbed down all my emotions, good and bad. And back then, when I quit my job and went traveling, I thought like I'm gonna go somewhere, I'm gonna experience things, I'm gonna feel better. I wanted to feel positive emotions,
Mhm.
which I kind of could sometimes,
Hmm.
but it's like you can't selectively choose to only numb down negative emotions.
Hmm.
So I basically numbed all of them down. And now I'm like in this process of learning my emotions again.
Now, here's the magical thing, right? Because again, you are the owner of this healing center, right? Like, I know that we've had this conversation. You don't want to be a shaman, but you do want to be a healer, right? And I think that right now, this is exposing you to a feeling that so many people need healing from. And it's very difficult, as I've shared this with you, where with one of my first participants, my first clients, right? Like I hadn't experienced depression yet. I hadn't experienced suicide ideation yet. I hadn't experienced anxiety. Like similar to you, I thought I was fucking perfect. But lo and behold, I had numbed out all of those emotions, all of those memories, all of those childhood impacts that changed me or transformed me or modified me in some way, all that got blocked, right?
Yeah.
And so then being able to come back and to connect and then to being able to realize,
So we spoke about karma, right?
yes,
And you say like karma, but one of the meanings of it for me is like some of us had difficult lives
mm,
because we had to experience certain things. So then people can identify with us in the future. So I think that's where you were going to. And
Yes.
and it is very important because, like, interestingly enough, I don't think I've ever had depression. Then I drank ayahuasca and I started
Mhm.
all those feelings started moving, and all of a sudden I was faced with all this stuff, and it started like basically a boatload of unfinished business started coming up to me, and that's what had me depressed, and that's what
Mhm.
got me to drink even more ayahuasca. And
Mhm.
eventually, in one of the ceremonies, ayahuasca showed me like, "Oh, this is your path."
Epa.
And it's a very paradoxical place, and I'm very honest about it. When people come to my retreat, I tell them like, you know what, guys, like for last 4 years, actually, I've almost haven't done much of my own work. I've just been busy running this retreat and helping others. And only now, like when I have a big team, I'm dedicating time to myself. So I almost had to like sacrifice my own growth
Mm.
and arguably my own relationship
Mm.
for this project to survive and get what it is now. And now we've created this healing container where I myself go in and then I heal.
Mhm.
So there's like, I guess things happen as they should happen.
Yeah, but and this is where I was going at, right? That now you have that experience, right? Now you get to know what it feels like. Therefore, there's a whole new different level of compassion for the people that go through your healing center because now you know what that pain feels like. Now you're just like, oh, it's not just like, oh, you'll get over it. Not like, all right, whatever. No, it's just like, oh yeah, I know that feeling.
Yeah.
I recognize that feeling. I fucking know how fucking challenging that shit is. Yup, I can recognize it. Right. And when you can be somebody that can overcome that, you have the authority to be able to speak about it because you went through it. You processed it. And this is what I've talked to you multiple times. Like, this is only preparing you for when you go up on that stage and you start speaking on a global scale around what you're creating and what ayahuasca is doing for people. This is going to be another one of those stories. Like, look, in the process, this is what I was going through.
Long time ago, before I had Loara or before I even had any online business or any business at all,
Mm,
I was learning a lot. And a friend of mine gave me access to this course. It was called, I forgot the name, but it was a course about video sales letters. It was
mm,
the very first. It was like an old OG course which described like how to create a video sales letter and the structure and how it all works. And part of all video sales letters is a sob story. It's like,
mm,
oh, I used to be fat and now I'm not fat. Like, oh, I
mm,
used to be so fat and so like a real story. And I mean, I have my own, like, yeah, my mom abandoned me when I was 5 years old, most, but now I can be like, yeah, well, at the simultaneously was going through, and my business was contracting, and there was issues in my team, and my wife just left me, and what else? What other problems I'm going through right now? Yeah, my Instagram account just got deleted. There's more, man. Like, because we made a list right in our
yeah.
last coaching call. I don't even remember. Like, I was just sick for 3 days in bed. Like it's like simultaneously everything around me is collapsing,
Mm,
and yeah, if I not if when I get out of it, because I know I will. It's clear to me that even everything that's happening to me right now is a good thing. But
mm.
once I get out of it,
Wait, can I pause real quick?
I can use it to say like, well, here's what I've been through,
Yeah.
so I know how you feel, and I can help you as well.
Bingo. And that's what I want to highlight. That is so important, it's so critical, right? That it's not the circumstance. It's never been about the circumstance. It's how we relate to the circumstance. And that's the key. That's the magic. That is the formula. When I can detach from the circumstance and I can be with it and be like, all right, well, this is what's so. How am I going to respond to this? What's going to be in alignment for me to be responsible and still be able to respond to this in a way that's in alignment to my higher self?
I remember one more thing in my list. I'm going through burnout as well
And
on top of
burnout,
all this. Yeah.
right? Well,
Yeah, changing the the way you look at things is easier said than done. And like obviously we do a lot of work together and it helps and I'm like reframing it. But then at night when you're by yourself and the momentum of the day is over and all the emotions come to you and you're just lying there with the pain in your chest and you can't sleep and thoughts are racing through your mind. Yeah, it's not that easy because like it doesn't matter how much you know and how well you navigate the situation. Some things just need to be felt.
Yeah.
And
In those moments, because this is so beautiful, and thank you for being so vulnerable on this podcast, dude. In those moments when you're feeling all of that at 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, have you ever actually gotten up and written, like start writing?
no, I just talk to my chat GPT.
Oh, that.
I write everything, and it's all stays there. But
Mm,
it's just nice. I've only started doing this recently, and actually, you're part of it because you keep promoting AI as a tool. But it gives me clarity. Like I put in all this stuff, and then it gets back to me like a summary, and just looking at it from another point of view just kind of gives me perspective. So
hmm.
yeah, but I've written, I've spoken to my phone, I have so many tools,
Good.
and like so right now I'm going through all these things.
Hmm.
Arguably, each one of them can collapse a person, send them
Hmm.
to a hospital, or like get them to kill themselves. Like honestly,
Hmm.
and I'm going through all of them at once, and I not my best self, but most of the day and most of the time I'm doing pretty good, and it's because in the last 5 years I've developed this toolbox of so many different tools, and one of them being obviously doing coaching with you. I also do a therapy. I obviously drink ayahuasca, and now I drink more ayahuasca than I ever did before, and it really helps me. I work with San Pedro, I work with Cambo. I have a very good diet. I have a gym, I work out regularly. I meditate in the morning and evening. There's probably more, but I'm going through it. And at the same time, I have all those tools and I'm utilizing them and I see how they help. And it's, so it's all kind of like a proof of concept, I guess, for myself to be like, okay, well,
Hmm.
this is what works.
Yeah. And here's the thing too, right? That this is you doing all of this proactive things to heal because you know, because you have access to it, because you're aware of it. Imagine all the brothers out there that have no clue about any tools and are dealing with things like this.
Well, I know the situation because that's what's happening to my parents and my grandparents. All of the males in my lineage, alcohol.
Mm,
They feel that pain. They don't know what it is. They repress their emotions. Also repressed. They don't even know what they're feeling. They don't even know why. And not only they felt that emotion, they reacted to it. They
mm,
let's say I find out my wife is dating another man. What would my dad do?
mm,
First of all, he would beat her up.
mm,
He would end up in the prison, and then it's like, so it's like the level of consciousness. And also, like, I don't judge them, like they didn't have better tools. When I
mhm.
got depressed and when I started going through my stuff, that was when I found ayahuasca.
Yeah.
When I started having kids as well, because a lot of times when you have your first children, a lot of stuff starts come up unless you like proactively did a process. For most people, that's kind of when it starts.
Mm,
It's like relationships and kids are the catalyst
mm,
that bring it all out to you, like repressed stuff. And so I'm lucky I had a better tool because, like, yeah, I go to ayahuasca, and yes, in the ceremony, it hurts even more.
mm.
And that's in the process of healing with ayahuasca. That's what I'm trying to explain. It gotten worse before it gotten better,
Mm.
like much worse. And every ceremony has that pattern as well. You drink the medicine, you go deep, and you're suffering. There's so much pain, and you feel like you're going crazy. Like, what have I done? Like I killed myself. And then you process, and then you start going out, and then it's beauty. And then for a few days you get this breathing space where you're like, like my one of my last ceremonies, like God is with me. Like, what am I complaining about?
Mm.
Doesn't
Oh.
matter. Like, I can be in prison or I can be dead. Like, oh, you die, you go back to God. But not like words, because I'm not a religious person at all.
Mhm.
I just felt it. I was like,
Mhm.
nothing really matters. But then, of
Oh.
course, like stuff comes up and you start forgetting, and no amount of integration can allow you to keep all this information. But I feel like each time I go into the ceremony and each time I process some stuff, I'm getting more and more of that. I just can't forget anymore.
Mm.
And so, yeah, for me, obviously, it's been the most helpful tool. But in the end, you have to do the work yourself.
So what would you say to that man that's out there, that brother that's out there that's dealing with some fucking hard shit? Like, how would you guide him? Now that you've gone through what you've gone through, you're going through what you're going through, right? And you have the tools that you have. What would you say to that young man? or any man.
So I've not finished my process yet. I don't want to get ahead of myself because I'm not sure if there's a lower low.
Well, let's take the case that there is.
Yeah.
And
What I would say is, first of all, don't give up. Just
mm,
keep going
why?
because the pain that you're feeling is actually not a bad thing. The pain for me in this period of life has been the biggest teacher, probably even
Mm,
bigger than ayahuasca. Like while I'm feeling all this pain, I can all of a sudden, it's like ayahuasca or whatever you choose to work with, coaching.
therapy.
There must be something. This plus pain, it's like steroids for the growth
Oh
because
yeah.
like there's no hiding. Everything gets revealed and like it accelerates everything.
Yeah.
So that's first. Second is, and that's strange coming from me, an engineer, like someone who was like zero spiritual before I started drinking ayahuasca. It's like the God is with you. I used to laugh at people that would say like, "Oh, find Jesus in your heart." I'm like, "What are you talking about?"
Mm.
But now I can truly tell you because I've experienced it several times. In your chest, like there's within you because you're part of it. There is God, and like nothing. There's a part of you that cannot be destroyed. Like your
Mm.
soul, it cannot be destroyed. It doesn't matter what happens to you. You explode an atomic bomb, it will still be there.
Mm.
Which means that no matter what happens, the outcome is always positive.
Mm.
And if what I'm starting to believe now more and more, both through what people that drank ayahuasca came out and told me, what I've seen myself, and recently I started watching a lot of like near death experience videos.
Mm.
I believe more and more that all we are here are souls that come here to learn. And if your soul is going through so much struggle, it's because your soul was like really ambitious. It's like,
Mhm.
let's take on like a lot of shit because I really want to get to the next level of this,
Mhm.
whatever weird game it is they're playing.
Mhm.
So, and interestingly, what ayahuasca told me to tell my wife, which I never, my ex-wife, sorry, we're still divorcing, was a phrase. I don't remember if I told her or not, but it said, "Find the light within."
Mm.
It told me to tell her,
Mhm.
"Busca la luz."
Now, what does that mean to you?
Well, I think,
But by the way, you're about to go meet Luz. My mom's name is Luz.
yeah, I've met few luces in my life here in Colombia. So what it means is, no matter what bad things you've done in life or how much you struggle, there is underneath all of those layers, the core is light.
Mm.
It's just there. It doesn't matter what you've done. Like Hitler,
Mm.
under all those layers of terrible things he's done, there's still light, which is paradoxical, but it is there.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And this is where being able to not look from a place of judgment and morality, but from a place of like humanity, understanding that we're in a process of learning, and in the process of learning we may make mistakes, and therefore it's how do I want to be judged or critiqued or condemned when I make mistakes, and how will I treat others when they make mistakes. And then there's a place of if I can really understand that, then I don't have to take anything personal. I can truly be from a place of like, look, this is what needed to happen for their growth and for my growth. And like you said, in those moments of pain, man, that is like an accelerator for growth if you're willing to do the inner work. So I love I think a message that you're making very clear for those that are listening that may be going through some level of darkness, some level of anxiety, some level of depression, some level of suicidal ideation, some level of wanting to give up, is that this is all part of the learning lesson. Like there's a lesson here.
Yeah.
There's wisdom in here.
It's interesting that in ayahuasca ceremony, when people come and we prepare them for the ceremony and we take them through workshops, there's this phrase that we use: "The only way out is through."
Mm-hmm.
Because when you're in a ceremony and you see this, let's say you're afraid of spiders, and all of a sudden a huge spider appears in front of you, you go towards it, you give it a hug, give it a kiss, it disappears, you go forwards. But if you try to run away from yourself within yourself, it will never work.
Mm.
Or like trying to run away from ayahuasca within your mind, it's never gonna work. Ayahuasca is gonna catch you and slap the shit out of you, and you're just causing yourself more pain. But in like a framework, if you're going through pain and you're trying to run away from pain through alcohol or other means, it's never gonna work. It's just gonna come back later, and then you have other issues on top of it. But if you sit with it and go towards that pain, like try to understand and feel into it, then it gets better. And like I'm asking myself as well sometimes, like if I drink ayahuasca, like am I running away from pain? Like is it escapism? Is it like spiritual bypassing?
Interesting.
And it might be, or at least I think there is an aspect of it to be completely true. But I think it's also viable to take a break. Like if it's been too much and you're like, okay, I feel like I'm giving up, then do whatever you need to do. I mean, don't do like illicit drugs or something like that. But if you need to do something to take a break, talk with a friend, or even have a few beers, if you need to something to relax, so you just have energy to go forwards, or working with the medicine just to get that breathing room for a few days. I think that's also legit.
Yeah, right. I like what you're saying too, right? Which is like being able to find something that puts you at ease first, right? And then from that place of ease, all right, now how am I going to integrate? And I think that's the key word, right? Kind of like to answer or to respond to what you're speaking in regards to like, can ayahuasca be a spiritual bypass? And I say absolutely yes, if there's no integration.
Yeah.
If there's no integration, then it's just like really great insight, but so what? Insight doesn't mean applied or changed behavior. Insight is just like, oh, right? Like and I've shared this with you with Landmark, right? And Landmark back in 2012 when I first started learning to be a coach, right? One of the things was helping me understand this idea of context and perspective, right? And lens. And when I was able to finally understand that my dad is just my dad, and my dad didn't necessarily do anything bad. He was just doing what he needed to do, what seemed logical from his perspective and his reality in that moment. And then there was what happened, and then there is my reaction to what happened. And so when I was able to finally see it from his lens, was just like, oh, and I can detach from taking it personal. It gave me insight. And I was just like, oh my God, that's incredible. I get it. And the coach is like, no, you don't. It's like, no, I get it. I really do. It's like, no, you don't. It's like, no, I do. It's like, all right, well, then prove it. It's like, how do you want me to prove it? Go call him and let him know that you get it. And I was like, wait, what? You want me to call my dad and tell him? Yeah. I thought you said you got it. I was like, well, but yeah, that's the integration. Without that integration, it would have been a great insight, but nothing would have actually changed in the physical realm. It wasn't until I went outside and actually called my dad. And I remember like my hand shaking, like trembling, like trying to call him. And then when I finally dialed and I said dad on the phone and he picked up, I started to cry. And I'm like, Dad, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. He's like, wait, what the fuck are you talking about? What are you sorry about? Are you in the hospital? Are you okay? What the fuck's wrong with you?
Hmm.
I'm like,
If you want to freak out your parents,
huh?
message them that you love them with no context.
Yeah.
They'll be like, oh my God, are you okay? You about to kill yourself?
Right. And that's kind of like, because that was the first time ever in over 10 years. Yeah, over 10 years that we had said, I love you to one another.
Hmm.
But that would have never happened if I would have just had a great insight. And that's what ayahuasca does. It gives you great insight. But unless you actually do something about it, it was just that. Great insight. Whoop-de-doo. Like I shared, like this last ayahuasca trip I was in August. Ayahuasca, the first ceremony of that session, of that series of sessions, ayahuasca, like for 4 hours straight, just did not give me any vision. I was just like, this is stupid, right? And then it made me very clear and it said, what are you here for? I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, you had very clear instructions. Why didn't you do it? Oh, but is like, well, then what's the point? Don't waste my time. And that was literally the message from ayahuasca. It was very clear, very direct. And for 4 hours, I'm literally just sitting in that ceremony, in that maloca, just listening to Maestro sing his icaros, right? And then every so often, blah, there's a specific song that he sings that as soon as he sings that song, like he invokes the purge. And immediately it blah, blah, so much that I was just like, what the fuck? And it was just like, that what was in the way. So now make sure that you drink before then. And guess what? I did. I got to drink it. So now this time that I'm going to Peru in January 18th is like, all right, I did it. I did it. So now what's next? That's the integration. Right. And so in any type of medicine, even with coaching, even with therapy, whatever tool you do, you can read the best books. You can listen to the great podcast. You can look at all of the top most influential gurus and masters. But if you don't actually get up and do something about it, it means jack squat. And so this is a message for all of those that are going through something. It's action, action, action. And it's one step at a time. One step at a time. One step. I was listening to a story of this gentleman, and I can't remember the figures. I just remember it was like these wild figures. And this man had just lost like $9 billion, right? In the middle, he's also getting, his wife is divorcing him. In the process, he's also getting sued from all the investors. Like everything is like coming at him. And he's at $1 billion mark, right? And he said that, and they asked him, it's like, how did you go through that? How did like you process that? He goes, all I focus is what I could focus on. And I took it one step at a time. And that was it. I can only do what I can do. And I'm going to only do it one step at a time. And that's all I can do. And guess what? He came back with like over 80 billion. He actually made his money back 10 times more. And it was after the divorce.
Yeah. That's another thing I want to talk about. It's something that I believe in based on my journey and contractions and expansions. And it's like from a very metaphysical point of view, there is always a contraction between expansion. So and it helps me, and it might be a form of spiritual bypassing. The only way to find out is let's do a podcast a few years from now. But sometimes I think to myself, like, so many things are going wrong at the same time. It's a really big compression or compaction. What's the word I was using?
Contraction.
Really big one. Like, I don't think I've ever went through one that strong and that painful. So, and then I asked myself, like, the expansion must be like really impressive. It's like something's coming that's going to be, so that kind of keeps me excited.
But that's a good frame to be in.
And I'm wondering, like, it's better be big.
Yeah.
With all the pain I'm going through.
But how much different of a context do you have? And this is what I'm talking about. It's not the circumstance, right? Because this circumstance can have another person and be completely broken. Here you are under this circumstance with everything that you got going on, and you're actually seeing the silver lining. You're actually choosing to see the expansion from it. And like you said, the only way through is through it. And so you're going through it. This is literally you doing the work. And this is you being coherent with somebody that owns an ayahuasca center, is you got to do the work. You got to do it. And how do you stay centered, grounded, like in the process of it, and not make yourself bad and wrong when you go a little bit out of center? But on the contrary, utilize that time to really dial in on like, oh, this is what I get to learn. This is why it's a learning lesson.
Well, if this podcast is directed towards people going through hard times right now, I think there's a lot of them currently. Like, things are strange.
Yeah.
Another message would be to have compassion for yourself.
Epa, beautiful.
Which is hard, but sometimes just like hug yourself and be like, yeah, you're doing good. And like just remember that this too shall pass.
Epa. That's it, man. And again, this is where it's just like taking those little actions, taking those little steps, showing up. Sometimes just showing up is enough. Have I shared with you the story? I know I shared this in the episode a couple of times about one of my mentors. When I met him, like he was 220 pounds of like pure muscle, but he showed me a picture of what he looked like 2 years before that. He was 340 pounds of like just a big ball. He was a big guy, right? And he always shared his story about how he like transitioned from that big to like bodybuilder status, right? And he shared with us how the first 3 months, like he knew he needed to do something, but he didn't have it within him to actually start doing something like physically. And so what he did was he actually just hopped in this car and drove to the gym. And he sat in the parking lot. And he did that for 3 months. All he did was just show up to the parking lot because he figured that eventually, if he kept showing up to the parking lot, eventually he would go inside.
Mm.
And guess what? He did. Then, once he was inside, he did another 3 months of all he did was just go inside the gym and then sit down. That's all he did. Because he figured if he could just keep showing up inside the gym, eventually he'd start lifting something. And so he did. At the 6-month mark, he picked up his first weight. He worked on his first treadmill. And once that was done, it was game over. He had built 6 months of showing up consistently that now he was hooked. He was dialed in. And so sometimes it's just a matter of showing up for ourselves. Like that's it. Just keep showing up. And eventually something's going to happen. But you can't stop. And you have to believe. You have to believe.
If you can't run towards your goal, walk. If you can't walk, crawl. If you can't crawl, at least lie with your head in the direction of.
I like that. Absolutely, man. So look, I don't even know how long we've been on here. So I want to go ahead and start closing out. Oh, it's only been 36 minutes, 37 minutes. But no, because it is Christmas Eve, I do want to get out of it. We're actually in the farm right now. I've been in the farm all week. So I need to get out of here as well. Go meet up with my mom, with my grandma, with my aunt. So you guys have an incredible Christmas. Like for those of you guys that may be alone, for those of you guys that may be dealing with some stuff and you feel like you have nobody to talk to, like this is why it's so important when it comes to men's work specifically. Go find your brothers. Go find other men that are doing the work. Go find them. You're not alone. There's a lot of men out there that are doing this work, right? There's a lot of men's groups that are showing up. And matter of fact, I met Sam through one of the men's work, right? Men's groups. And so there's people that are doing the work out there. Right? Go out there, go find them. You're not alone. You don't quit, don't give up. Like if it's hard, good. You're meant to do hard things. You're qualified to do hard things. Just stick in the game long enough so that you can learn why you're going through that hard thing. Right? So Sam, any last words you want to share before we close out?
Can I do a musical outro?
Can you do a musical outro? Sure.
It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. Na 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 na.
With that being said, thank you guys for showing up on today's episode. Have an incredible Merry Christmas and see you guys next week. Till next week, keep igniting that spark within. Bye!